Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Young and the Restless channel. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and hit like for more daily drama updates and spoilers. Your support truly means a lot and helps our channel grow every day. The Young and the Restless is heading into a week filled with explosive family tensions, dangerous decisions, and emotional turning points, as the latest spoilers for August 17th through August 21st promise trouble on nearly every corner of Genoa City. Billy Abbott is about to push his obsession with Chancellor to a whole new level, and his determination to reclaim the company could leave broken relationships and angry family members in his wake. His actions are certain to infuriate Kane Ashby, while Nate Hastings prepares to take a major risk that could completely change the direction of his future. At the same time, a familiar face is making a much-anticipated return, bringing another layer of warmth and family connection to the chaos surrounding the Abbotts. With Tracy Abbott back on the scene, Nina Webster returning, and Nick Newman continuing to struggle through rehab, the week ahead promises to be packed with emotional confrontations, family drama, and secrets finally coming into the light. The Abbott family drama takes center stage as Christine Blair Romalotti spends time at the Shadow Room, where her husband Danny Romalotti is now the manager, and Tracy Abbott is also there, trying to escape the weight of everything happening around her. Christine understands that the Abbott household has been overwhelmed by one crisis after another, and she recognizes just how much pressure everyone has been carrying lately. For Tracy, that is exactly why she feels she needs a night away from the constant tension, if only for a few hours of peace and normalcy. But the evening takes an unexpected and emotional turn when someone familiar suddenly appears behind Tracy. Trisha Cast is back as Nina Webster, and Nina immediately responds to Tracy's comment about needing a night out by admitting that she feels the same way. The two longtime friends then share a heartfelt hug, turning what could have been an ordinary evening into a meaningful reunion that fans have been waiting to see. Nina's return, however, comes at a particularly important moment for the Abbott family, because Billy is about to create a storm that could affect every one of John Abbott's children. At the end of this week, Billy is sitting at the cafe with Jack Abbott and Kyle Abbott when he finally reveals the secret he has been obsessively searching for. Billy has spent an enormous amount of time digging through the Chancellor archives, convinced that Jill Abbott was hiding something from him, and now he believes he has finally uncovered the truth. He tells Jack and Kyle that the Abbotts may actually own Chancellor, and he is not making the claim based on speculation alone. Billy has discovered paperwork connected to a loan made by their father, John Abbott, and the documents appear to contain a provision that could change everything. According to the paperwork, John loaned Chancellor money to keep the company from falling into bankruptcy, with the agreement stating that if the loan was not repaid within 20 years, ownership would pass to John or his heirs. Billy has gone even further by having the paperwork authenticated, and the results appear to support his theory, because the loan was apparently never repaid to John Abbott. To Billy, this is not simply an interesting piece of family history, it is the key to taking Chancellor back. Jack admits that he can believe their father would have created an arrangement like this, because John was exactly the kind of man who would have protected his family's interests in such a way. But Jack immediately begins wondering whether Catherine Chancellor knew about the agreement, because if she had known, he assumes she would have paid John back. Billy, however, is far less interested in looking at the situation from Catherine's perspective. His excitement comes from what this discovery could mean for him, because he sees an opportunity to pull Chancellor away from Kane and Lily Winters and place it back under Abbott control. Beneath all of Billy's determination is the familiar emotional battle connected to Jill and Kane, making this quest about far more than business and ownership. Jack tries to bring Billy back down to earth, warning him that he needs to slow down before turning the discovery into another major family war. Jack points out that if Victor Newman were still in control of Chancellor, he would understand Billy wanting to fight for it. But the situation is different now because Lily owns the company. Billy refuses to accept that argument and becomes increasingly frustrated, accusing Jack of trying to destroy his dream instead of supporting him. He makes it clear that he has no intention of accepting any offer from Kane to back away because he wants Chancellor, he wants to run it, and he believes the company is rightfully theirs. Kyle, however, reminds his uncle that a legal battle could drag on for years, creating enormous expenses and uncertainty for everyone involved. Billy insists that the contract between John Abbott and Chancellor must be honored, but Jack warns him that he may be deluding himself and pursuing something that is ultimately not good for him. That warning only makes Billy angrier because he does not want anyone telling him what he supposedly needs. Jack continues to emphasize that taking Chancellor could become an expensive and exhausting fight, but Billy is no longer interested in hearing reasons why he should stop. His mind is locked on the possibility that he has finally found the one thing that can give him control. Then Kyle asks a question that cuts straight into another important part of Billy's life. How does Sally Spectra feel about all of this? Billy has not even told Sally yet, despite the fact that she is carrying their baby and their future should be his priority. Kyle reminds him that he promised to put Sally and their unborn child first, but Billy insists he can somehow manage both things at once. He is convinced Sally will support him, even though Jack has serious doubts because Sally nearly left Billy before over his obsession with Chancellor and the way the company consumed his life. By Friday, Billy's frustration reaches its breaking point, and his emotional outburst turns into a full-blown tantrum before he finally storms away from Jack and Kyle. Yet even as Billy walks off, the evidence he uncovered continues to raise questions. Kyle examines the documents more closely, and despite all the concerns surrounding Billy's behavior, he has to admit that the paperwork looks legitimate. For the first time, Kyle begins wondering whether Billy could actually be right and whether the Abbotts truly do have a legal claim to Chancellor. That possibility forces Jack and Kyle to reconsider how they should approach the situation. They realize that this is not something the two of them can simply decide on their own, because if Chancellor truly belongs to John Abbott's heirs, then Tracy and Ashley Abbott would also have a stake in the company. The discovery could therefore affect the entire Abbott family, making Billy's personal crusade something much larger and much more dangerous. While Jack and Kyle debate how to handle the bombshell, Billy is already moving toward his next confrontation, and the consequences are beginning to close in around Kane and Lily. At the end of this week, Lily is having breakfast with Kane and naturally asks how Billy is doing at Chancellor. Kane immediately makes it clear that he does not want to discuss Billy, and that response only makes Lily more curious and uneasy. Kane finally explains that Billy has been stirring things up because he believes there is a secret hidden somewhere inside the Chancellor records. According to Kane, Billy thinks Jill deliberately kept this information from him and that whatever he discovers could give him control of the company. Lily is immediately furious at the possibility and makes it clear that Billy will have to take Chancellor over her dead body. Kane, however, remains confident that Billy will find nothing and that the entire situation will eventually blow over. Lily does not share Kane's confidence and demands that Billy be fired before he can create even more trouble. She wants him gone from Chancellor immediately, believing that allowing him to continue digging through the records is simply inviting disaster. Kane asks her for more time, and surprisingly, he becomes Billy's advocate, arguing that his brother deserves another chance. Kane believes the baby on the way could make Billy reconsider his priorities and become a different man. Lily eventually gives in, telling Kane that the decision is up to him, but the fragile peace between them is about to be tested almost immediately. Because Billy is not slowing down, and instead of walking away from Chancellor, he is preparing to reveal that his search has already produced exactly the discovery he wanted. That confrontation arrives when Billy approaches Kane and Lily directly questions him about all the digging he has been doing in the Chancellor archives. She tells him that he needs to stop searching through the records and start focusing on the company's future instead of chasing an old secret. Billy, however, has no intention of stopping now. He tells Lily that there is no reason for him to keep digging because he has already found what he was looking for, and in his mind, he now possesses the keys to the kingdom. He makes a point of telling Lily that he admires and respects her, but then delivers the devastating claim that Chancellor belongs to him and that he can prove it. For Lily, those words are likely to feel like a direct declaration of war, because the man she wanted Kane to fire has just announced that he believes he is the rightful owner of the company. With Billy refusing to retreat and Lily refusing to surrender, the Chancellor battle is poised to explode into something far more serious. And somehow, Billy still manages to make another questionable decision before even telling Sally what he has discovered. Next week, Audra Charles approaches Billy at the bar and notices that he appears to be celebrating something important. When she asks what amazing thing has happened, Billy does not hesitate to invite her to join him, promising to tell her all about it. From a distance, the decision seems like a terrible one because Sally is supposed to be one of the most important people in Billy's life right now, yet she remains completely unaware of his Chancellor discovery. Instead, Billy is apparently ready to share the news with Audra first, continuing the pattern of impulsive decisions that has already caused so much trouble. The question now is whether Audra will keep the information to herself or immediately contact Sally. It would not be surprising if Audra gives Sally a warning that Billy is once again completely fixated on Chancellor and now believes he has discovered proof that the company belongs to the Abbotts. Meanwhile, Kane and Lily are unlikely to simply accept Billy's claim without investigating it themselves. Kane will almost certainly want to determine whether the paperwork is legitimate and whether Billy's interpretation of the old agreement actually holds up. It would make sense for Kane to contact Jill and seek confirmation about what happened with John Abbott's loan, although that verification may take place off-screen. There is also one enormous detail that Billy seems to be overlooking in the middle of his excitement. Even if his legal argument proves correct, the paperwork would establish that Chancellor belongs to the Abbott family heirs, not necessarily to Billy alone. That distinction could become crucial if Jack, Kyle, Tracy, Ashley, and the rest of the family are forced to determine what should happen next. Billy may believe he has found the keys to the kingdom, but the moment he realizes that he cannot simply take control for himself could be another painful reality check. While the Chancellor battle threatens to tear the Abbott and Winters families apart, another major storyline is quietly moving toward a potentially life-changing moment for Nate Hastings. Nate has recently spoken with Lily and Devin Hamilton about a new procedure that might give him a chance to return to the career he once loved. His future in medicine has been uncertain, and the possibility of getting back into the operating room carries enormous emotional weight for him. Now, next week, Nate continues discussing that possibility with Stephanie Simmons, revealing just how seriously he is considering taking the risk. He asks Stephanie what could happen if the surgery on his hand actually works, a question that carries both hope and fear because so much of his professional identity depends on what happens next. Stephanie gives him the answer he desperately wants to hear, telling Nate that if the procedure succeeds, he could once again return to the operating room and amaze people with his medical talent. For Nate, that possibility represents far more than simply getting back to work. It is the chance to reclaim a part of himself that he has feared might be gone forever, to stand in an operating room again and feel the confidence and purpose that once defined him. But the road back will not be simple, and choosing to undergo the procedure means accepting the possibility that things may not go as planned. As Nate weighs that enormous decision, Billy is preparing to gamble his own future on a different kind of risky move, one that could cost him his relationship with Sally, his standing with Kane and Lily, and perhaps even his place within the Abbott family. With Nina Webster returning, Tracy Abbott stepping back into the family drama, Nick Newman continuing his difficult journey through rehab, and Billy preparing to ignite a battle over Chancellor, Genoa City is heading into a week where old secrets and new choices collide. The coming days will test loyalties, relationships, and family bonds. And by the time the dust begins to settle, more than one character may realize that changing the future always comes with a price. But Billy's Chancellor revelation is only the beginning of the trouble waiting for the Abbott family, because once a secret this explosive comes into the open, there is almost no chance of putting it back where it was. Jack and Kyle now have to consider what this discovery could mean for the entire Abbott family, while Billy is already acting as though the company is his to reclaim. The more convinced Billy becomes that the paperwork proves his case, the harder it will be for anyone to make him slow down and think about the consequences. His determination may have started as a personal mission connected to Jill and Kane, but it is rapidly becoming a battle that could affect every relationship around him. Even Sally, the woman carrying his child, has been pushed to the sidelines while Billy pours all of his energy into this obsession. And with Audra now potentially learning the secret before Sally does, the possibility of another emotional explosion is growing by the minute. At the same time, Kane and Lily are unlikely to sit quietly and wait for Billy to make his next move. Kane has already defended his brother, believing that Billy deserves time to prove that he can balance Chancellor with his responsibilities as a father-to-be. But that patience could disappear quickly once Kane realizes just how far Billy intends to go. Lily, meanwhile, has already made her position unmistakably clear, and she is not willing to watch the company she owns become the center of Billy's personal revenge campaign. If Kane confirms that John Abbott's loan agreement really exists, he may have to face an uncomfortable truth. Billy's claim may have enough substance to create a legitimate legal fight, even if Billy has misunderstood who would actually inherit the company. That could force Kane and Lily to prepare for a battle they never expected, while the Abbotts begin discussing whether they want to pursue ownership at all. And somewhere in the middle of this chaos, Sally is still waiting to learn what Billy has been hiding from her. The irony is painful because Billy keeps insisting that he can protect his relationship, prepare for the arrival of their baby, and fight for Chancellor all at the same time. But Sally has already shown that she will not allow Chancellor to consume Billy's life again, especially after coming close to walking away from him over the same obsession. If she discovers that Billy has been celebrating his latest victory with Audra before even telling her, the emotional damage could be even greater. What Billy sees as an exciting opportunity could look completely different from Sally's perspective, especially if she begins to feel that their future together is once again being placed second. And if Audra really does warn Sally about Billy's plans, the confrontation between them could become one of the most emotional moments of the week. Meanwhile, the return of Nina Webster gives the Abbott family a welcome reminder that not every reunion has to begin with conflict. Nina's appearance alongside Tracy creates a sense of warmth and history at a time when the Abbott family desperately needs both. Tracy has been dealing with the weight of everything happening around her, and having Nina suddenly appear offers her a chance to reconnect with someone who understands the family's complicated history. Their embrace at the Shadow Room may seem simple on the surface, but it carries the feeling of two longtime friends finding comfort in each other when life has become overwhelming. With Danny managing the venue and Christine nearby, the scene also creates a rare pocket of normalcy before the larger family battles begin to take over. Yet even this peaceful reunion is happening against the backdrop of Billy's escalating Chancellor War, reminding everyone that the Abbott family cannot escape the consequences of what is coming. While the Abbotts struggle with their inheritance crisis, Nate is facing a deeply personal crossroads of his own. His conversation with Stephanie about the surgery on his hand is filled with cautious hope because Nate knows that success could reopen a door he once thought had closed forever. Returning to medicine would mean reclaiming his identity as a skilled surgeon and proving to himself that the setback he experienced does not have to define the rest of his life. Stephanie's confidence gives him something powerful to hold on to, especially when she tells him that a successful procedure could put him back in the operating room where his talents belong. But hope can also be frightening when so much is riding on one decision. Nate now has to decide whether he is willing to take the risk, knowing that the outcome could determine whether his dream of returning to surgery becomes reality or remains something he can only remember. That uncertainty makes Nate's storyline a powerful contrast to Billy's. Both men are looking toward the future, but they are approaching it from completely different emotional places. Nate is trying to rebuild something that was taken away from him, carefully weighing the risks because he understands exactly what he could lose. Billy, on the other hand, is charging forward with complete confidence, convinced that the past has handed him the key to a future where Chancellor belongs to the Abbotts again. Nate's challenge is whether he can overcome the physical barrier standing between him and his career, while Billy's challenge is whether he can overcome the emotional impulses driving him toward another family war. Both are taking major risks, but only one of them seems willing to consider how those choices might affect the people closest to him. And while these stories unfold, Nick Newman's continued struggle in rehab adds another emotional layer to the week ahead. His journey is not simply about recovering physically or trying to put the pieces of his life back together. It is also about confronting the consequences of everything that brought him to this point. The people who love Nick are watching closely, hoping that rehab will give him the strength to move forward, even as they worry about what could happen if he loses his way. His family has already endured more than enough turmoil, and the uncertainty surrounding Nick means that every new development carries emotional weight. Against the backdrop of Billy's reckless choices and the Abbott family's latest crisis, Nick's struggle provides a quieter but equally important reminder that rebuilding a life often requires patience, honesty, and painful self-reflection. His recovery is still unfolding, and the people around him can only hope that he continues taking the difficult steps toward a better future. As the week moves forward, the Chancellor mystery is likely to become impossible for anyone to ignore. Billy has found documents that he believes prove his case. Kyle has admitted that the paperwork looks legitimate, and Jack knows that their father was capable of making exactly the kind of arrangement Billy has uncovered. But the real question is not simply whether the documents are real. The larger question is what those documents actually mean and who has the legal right to act on them. If the Chancellor ownership clause is valid, then the Abbott siblings could suddenly find themselves at the center of a major corporate battle, with Billy potentially trying to take control before everyone else has even agreed on what should happen. That could create a bitter divide within the family, because Billy may believe that reclaiming Chancellor is his destiny, while Jack and the others may see it as another dangerous obsession that could destroy everything he has worked to build. The pressure will only increase when Kane and Lily begin digging into the history of the loan themselves. Jill's knowledge could become especially important because if anyone can shed light on what John Abbott intended and whether the loan was ever repaid, it could be her. Kane may need to reach out to Jill to verify the details, and whatever he learns could completely change the way he views Billy's claim. If the agreement turns out to be valid, Kane could be forced to defend Chancellor in court against his own brother, creating a painful situation neither man ever expected to face. If the agreement is somehow flawed or no longer enforceable, Billy could be left with nothing but his anger and the realization that he has once again allowed his fixation to control his life. Either way, the search for the truth is likely to push Kane and Billy even further apart. Then there is the question of what happens when the rest of the Abbotts learn the full story. Tracy and Ashley could soon find themselves pulled directly into the dispute because if John's heirs truly have a claim, this is not simply Billy's fight. Jack may want to approach the situation carefully, Kyle may continue examining the legal documents, and the family could find itself divided over whether reclaiming Chancellor is worth the years of litigation and emotional destruction that could follow. Billy, however, may not be willing to wait for everyone to reach a decision. His impatience has already been obvious, and his decision to celebrate before telling Sally suggests that he is thinking more about winning than about consequences. The longer he acts alone, the greater the chance that the people closest to him will begin questioning whether Billy is actually fighting for his family or simply fighting to prove something to himself. And then there is Nate, standing on the edge of his own second chance. The idea that he could once again enter an operating room, take control of a surgical procedure, and use the talent that once made him so respected gives his storyline an emotional sense of possibility. Stephanie's words offer encouragement, but Nate still has to confront the fear that comes with putting his future into the hands of a risky procedure. If the surgery works, he could finally begin rebuilding the career he thought he had lost, opening a completely new chapter in his life. But if it fails, the disappointment could be devastating. especially after allowing himself to hope again. For now, Nate is still standing at that crossroads, trying to decide whether the possibility of getting his dream back is worth the risk of facing another painful setback.